Good afternoon and welcome, and thank you for joining us on this Thursday before Labor Day weekend. My name is Liam Garrity, and I'm the Director of Hospitality for Frank Family Vineyards, and I'm so happy to be here today at one of my favorite places in all of Napa Valley, the restaurant Bottega in Yountville. I'm joined today by Bottega's culinary director, a gentleman by the name of Art Coutinho. Art, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bottega Restaurant. I'm happy to be here with Liam and Frank Family, one of our longtime partners in the Napa Valley. And we're going to be cooking a couple fun dishes with you today.
We're going to be making some really fun dishes. I will tell you a quick story about myself. When I first moved to Napa Valley, it was about 5 years ago, and the first place that I was lucky enough to dine at, Rich and Leslie Frank took my wife and I to Bottega, and I experienced a meal unlike any other I've had. And I will never forget that night. And for me, that is the quintessential Napa Valley experience, that moment in time that, while long gone, you'll never forget. And those memories don't fade. And I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy that we're going to be sharing some of Bottega's most well-known and most famous dishes. Chef Art's going to be preparing for us angry prawns, yes. A fabulous dish that I'm excited to try, and he's going to be making Bottega's famous and very unique and very special gnocchi dish with hen and red wine sauce.
Yeah.
Joined, as always, today, we're here with Frank Family Vineyards proprietor and vintner Leslie Frank. Leslie, how are you?
I'm great, Liam. I'm great. Thank you for the introduction. And always, I'm here to monitor your questions and your comments. So please feel free to go into the little chat section at the bottom and tell us where you're from and where you're watching from, and if you're cooking along, and what you're drinking, which Frank Family varietal you've chosen to sip along with today. And we do want you to pay attention because it's beneficial if you do. We are giving away $100 gift certificates for the correct answer to trivia questions, and you can use those $100 gift certificates at our website, frankfamilyvineyards.com, and purchase wine or any Frank Family merchandise. So, Liam, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Leslie. And I'm going to be honest, guys, there's been some softball questions in the last few tastings, so today we're going to up the game a little bit, so really be paying attention because these ones aren't going to come easy. To work with Chef Art's Cuisine, I've chosen 3 wines from Frank Family Vineyards' estate tier collection to pair along with at home. I'm always a fan of choosing the right wine to complement the dish. And for the angry prawns, we're going to be tasting Frank Family's 2018 vintage Lewis Vineyard Chardonnay. And then we've chosen 2 different red wines to pair with the main course. Essentially coming at the dish in 2 slightly different approaches. Our 17 vintage Charles Valley Zinfandel and our 17 vintage RHF Cabernet Sauvignon. As Chef Art is working on the dish, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the wines. When we plate these dishes, we're going to talk about pairing notes and what exactly makes these things work so well together. As many of you at-home chefs know, preparing a meal is about stages, and Chef Art's going to talk to us a little bit about the way this course dish is going to come together.
Right. So again, we have pay attention because we do have a very in-depth demo going on here. When you're entertaining at home, and this is something that, Chef Michael Chiarello always, I hear him talk about a lot, home cooks, they should really choose 1 or 2, 3 dishes that they can become great at, and those are the ones that they entertain with. But, when you do have dishes like that, not everybody knows how to bring them together and are able to entertain at the same time that they're cooking, right? So what we've done, we've chosen a couple dishes, some of them quick, some of them slow, and some of them using the products that go into other dishes to create another dish behind it. So today we're gonna start out not with our first dish that we're going to be plating, but we're going to go with the longest dish to cook, right? So we're going to start by making that hen sauce that's going to go over our ricotta gnocchi, those beautiful pillows of ricotta cheese, which really sets our gnocchi apart from more traditional gnocchis that are potato-based, right?
This is a special dish that you guys made here and continue to make here.
It is, and Chef Chiarello can talk about his connection to gnocchi and when we developed that dish in 2008 when we first opened, it's slowly become a staple and a favorite to our guests. So yes.
All right, tell us a little bit about Bottega. This is a restaurant that I've been to more times than I can count, and a restaurant that we work with at Frank Family all the time. In fact, we've developed, Chef Art and I, along with another chef here, Chef Adam Rowley, have worked a lot together because Bottega is our partner at Frank Family in the development of our wine and food pairing program that we host at the winery. And they've shared some incredible food with us, and we've had a lot of success in that program. But
right.
I'm curious to know a little bit more about this restaurant and about the history of it and about its place in Napa.
Yeah, so Chef Chiarello founded this restaurant in 2008, and this was really his compilation of all his years in Italian cuisine, right? And this was, he set his roots down at Trevina. But this was his final, Bottega. It's his artist's workshop. This is where he was going to. It's where he's going to spend the rest of his days and continue to cook and do what we do. And again, what we do is really strike an emotional note with our guests. And doing that, it's not like we have 15, 20 courses to do that. We are like Napa Cab, right? We big, bold brush strokes and big, bold flavors, and that's why, we cook to the food of our Napa Valley partners, and that's why our food works with your wine so well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to try some today.
Great.
So we're going to start with the sauce. The sauce for the gnocchi. Tell us about that.
So this is chef's mother's bitchy old hen sauce. Okay. And chef, why did your mother call it the bitchy old hen sauce? Come on in. I'm gonna mask up.
You gonna keep me out of the shot?
Yeah. I want you in the shot with me,
We're
Chef.
joined today by Bottega owner and
chef.
executive chef, Chef Michael Chiarello. Chef Michael, great to see you, sir.
Well, happy to have the Franks here. As my nonna would always say, the bitchier the hen, the better the brodo. The bitchier the hen, the better the brodo. Now, I have some swollen legs today, so I have some support hose on. I'm feeling kind of like my nonna. But we would go out and feed the chickens. I spent 4 months a year with them up at the ranch in Mount Shasta. And whenever we were feeding the chicken and the hen would peck her and draw blood through her support hose, she'd take that son of a gun and wring her neck right there. And it was usually the old, cranky old hens that would do that. And she'd always turn to me and say in Calabrese, in our dialect, the bitchier the hen, the better the brodo. They were tough and gnarly. You never wanted to eat the chicken breast off that thing. If you drop them in a pot of tomato sauce, you could eat for 4 or 5 hours. And you just yank the love out of that old bitch.
That's very authentic, an authentic description of the dish. Thank you, Michael.
So I couldn't fit the whole bitchy old hen in this pot because we're cooking for maybe 2 people, family style here, right? But we did manage to take the thigh off that old chicken, and as it cooks in the sauce, as Chef said, it starts to break down and it braises, and you can actually have a very nice succulent chicken thigh.
So this is the way you lead into this dish. Get that protein cooked first.
Yep.
Pull that off and then move into the sauce.
This is old school cooking, old school Italian cooking, and this is how I grew up cooking in the kitchen. When I came here, it was really like, I never stepped away from that old school Italian kitchen.
Browning the chicken in this case is deeply important. There's no flavor without caramelization. If you've ever been to England eating and had all the boiled beef, and you know that boiled beef or any protein doesn't taste good. So he's browning this. This is going to be the foundation of the sauce.
Leslie, how's our audience enjoying the show so far? Any questions coming in from our group?
We have so many comments, Liam. This is crazy. I'll read as many as I can. And again, always thank you to those of you who are tuning in today for your comments and your questions. Matthew Cowan wants to know if he will be able to get a copy of this broadcast later, and the answer is yes. We will broadcast it later on our website, frankfamilyvineyards.com. Let's see. Nelson Tucker says, I find these tastings not only educational, but I really love the ability to actually taste the food and wine pairings in my own home. Just wish we were all there at the winery.
Great.
Well, We wish you were too, Nelson. And the winery is open. We're doing tastings. Of course, we're following all the protocols. And of course, Michael Chiarello's Bottega and Ottimo and Copetta, all here in Yountville, are open as well. So we're excited about that. And you're doing indoor too now. Christy Davis says hi from Waco. Steve Mendel, hi Leslie. You look amazing. Thanks, Steve. How you doing, Steve? Are you drinking, Frank family? Carolyn Dutska, Carolyn and Jim from Rhode Island. I know that you've tuned in before, and we appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Amy Whitfield from Houston, Texas. Amy's tuned in before too. William Lajeunesse, hey Leslie, William is on this. William, are you cooking along? I hope that your gnocchi and your angry prawns taste just as good as Chef Art's. Jason Davis, Jason and Jennifer following along from Sugar Hill, Georgia. Let's see, we've got James Harris from Highlands, North Carolina, drinking the Zinfandel, the 2010. All right, do we have any questions here? Let me see, I'm scrolling. I'm gonna look for the questions, and right now I'm gonna toss it back to you, Liam.
Thank you, Leslie. So
Liam.
Yes, sir.
What we say about Zinfandel?
Yeah.
It's the golden retriever of red wines.
Golden Retriever red wines. I like that. Tell me more.
I raised golden retrievers when I was a kid, and they didn't really care what you were doing as long as you were petting them. Right? All Zinfandel wants to do is to be pet. It wants to be loved. It doesn't care if you want a salad with it, chicken with it, a steak with it. It just wants to be loved.
It just wants to be at the table.
It wants to be at the table, enthusiasm. But with the gnocchi, this Zinfandel is a match made in heaven.
I'm excited to try
see
it.
this. You're going to be able to charge $10 more a bottle if you compare it with this.
Chef, how's that hen coming along?
It's looking beautiful right now, and as you asked, you asked if I was going to set the hen aside after I browned it off, and I'm actually not, and that's why it's so old school. Normally you would pull that hen out. Right now, we're actually going to cook it all the way through in the pan the whole time, and it almost creates that stock, that richness as it cooks and pulls those juices out, right?
Dynamite. So first thing in?
Right now, we're going to go in with our garlic, and when we put garlic in things, we toast it. It browns. And if you want to zoom in here, this is no joke. You can't take it too far.
Because I've always heard, Chef, that you can take garlic too far. That you want to be careful about burning garlic.
Exactly. You can take it too far. You don't want to take it too far. It can get very bitter on you. So we're just going to cook it enough, and you can see it starting to brown there slightly, right? Now we're going to go in. We're going to crack that rosemary in. And when I say crack it in, it means we're going to fry it, because rosemary has a tendency to become a little bit soapy. It almost tastes like it could taste like a bath soap sometimes in your sauces if it's not cooked properly.
You want the rosemary down below. What we work on more than anything is where the layers of flavor are. Starting with the chicken, it's taking the fond, all the juices off there. It's adding the vegetables right into the fond, all those chicken juices, and they're going to caramelize. The rosemary now is going to be we call this the odori, the aroma of the entire dish. This is how you build this entire thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things you have to know about gnocchi in this dish is we've always said, take some time when you have some time to save some time when you don't. You make a gallon of this sauce, and then you make 4 times as many gnocchi as you need. You put everything in the freezer, and the time it takes the water to boil, you have dinner on the table.
Yeah.
At any day of the week.
I like that. We certainly all could use some of those time-saving techniques when we cook. I love that idea of layers of flavor. That's something we talk about a lot at the winery. When Todd Graff is making one of Frank Family's wines, we're talking about those layers of flavor. And a great wine is that idea of notes from the grape, but also notes from the barrel, spice notes, terroir or soil notes. That great wine comes together from those various components, just like what Chef is doing right now and bringing those multiple components together to create this dish.
Right.
I'm just get the heck out of the way so you can watch him. Other than my nana who made this gnocchi, they're super simple to make. But you need to make them often. He's got the best hands ever in all my life. You guys watch closely. I'll be back in a minute.
Perfect. Thank you, Chef.
I'm excited to see the homemade gnocchi come together.
Right. So
what's next on the sauce, Chef?
We're almost to the gnocchi. Next step here on our sauce. So this is what we call the sofrito, okay? And it's a slow fry of these vegetables to soften them up and pull all those. Whoa. This is a slow fry on those vegetables to help soften them up and because once you add that wine in, once you add that tomato in, your vegetables are not going to soften up and cook anymore. The acid really sets the texture of those vegetables. And we're about there now. So I'm going to start adding this in. And as Chef said, that Zinfandel really goes well with the ricotta gnocchi because that's actually what we're going to be using in the dish itself.
That's right. That's right. That is Frank Family Vineyards Zinfandel going into the dish. Some might say it's a crime to cook with wine that good, but today we're doing it.
If it tastes good in the glass, it has to taste good in the pan, right?
So for those of you who are cooking along at home and looking at the wines that we're enjoying today, as I mentioned before, the two pairings that we've chosen to go with the gnocchi and hen dish, the 2017 Charles Valley Zinfandel and the 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon. The Zin is going to bring a little bit more bright fruit. It's going to bring a bit more acidity. It's going to bring a bit more of that ripe and brilliant freshness, whereas the Cabernet is going to bring a little bit more structure, a bit more tannins, and a bit more of that dark fruit and complexity that we all love in our Napa Valley Cabernets. The RHF, for those of you who are trying this wine for the first time today, made from a blend of grapes that grow on our Winston Hill vineyard, as well as grapes from our Valley Floor Benjamin vineyard. These two vineyards, both in the neighborhood of Rutherford, really comprise the heart and soul of Frank Family's Cabernet program. In fact, the Winston Hill, the original vineyard of Frank Family, when Rich purchased it in 1990, just 10 acres of planted Cabernet. It's now grown a little bit, now about the size of 25 acres, but that vineyard soil, that placement really comes through in this Cabernet Sauvignon. Our Charles Valley Zinfandel, grown high in the mountain range to the east of the Napa Valley. That high elevation means that the grapes are being exposed to a lot of heat and a lot of sunlight, which is really important for Zinfandel. That grape needs a lot of that natural sun energy to ripen and build those sugars to create that wine, and you get that ripeness and that freshness and that big fruit note coming through in the glass. That's fabulous. If anyone is drinking this at home, I'd love to hear your notes on the wine and answer any questions that you might have about these wines as we're tasting through. Chef Art, how are things coming along?
Guys, we're at a critical point.
Speaking of questions, we do have one for Chef Art.
Yes,
Chef Lynn Case would like to know if you're browning the chicken in olive oil.
We do. You know, we cook at Bottega in 100% extra virgin olive oil. We do not use blends. We don't use, and we use California olive oil at that. Right now we're using that California Olive Ranch olive oil. It's in an Arbequina, so anytime we're cooking, we use an Arbequina olive oil. It's a Spanish olive that's very fruit forward and mild, and a favorite of people of California and America in general. Okay. So right now we're going to go ahead and add our tomato sauce because our wine, if you saw there, had cooked dry. Okay. So we're going to let this stew now.
And Chef, for our home chef enthusiasts,
yes,
that sauce that you can add, is that something that you can buy pre-made, or is that something that you really want to take the time to make at home?
Those are actually, this sauce, they're just whole peeled. It's not a sauce. It's a whole peeled Di Napoli San Marzano style tomatoes. So another California product.
That's great.
Right? Grown in Lodi. And if you're looking for a whole peeled tomato at home, go to the store, find anything that's ingredients are tomatoes, citric acid, or something that acidulates it essentially, but no other ingredients.
Yeah, the simpler the better, huh?
The simpler the better. If it's tomatoes, salt, even better, right? Because that salt's the preservative, and there's nothing else added. Okay.
Next up, we'll be doing some gnocchi.
Yeah.
But before we get there, and this is the main course, I want to hand it over to Leslie real quick.
It's time for trivia.
It's time for trivia.
Okay, I've got my little sign and I'm signaling to Liam. It's time for trivia. Okay, first trivia question. Today, in case you didn't know, is National Cabernet Day. How many acres of Cabernet were planted at the original Winston Hill Vineyard in Rutherford? All right, we're not going to do the first correct answer in the chat section. We're going to do the third correct answer in the chat section. Oh, this is funny. Wow, we have some really good listeners out there because we're flooded. Okay, Jack Nichols, the answer is 10. You got it correct. You were the third person to answer correctly. Our marketing team will reach out to you, and you have won a $100 gift certificate to use on Frank Family's website for the purchase of wine or merchandise. All right, back to Chef and Liam.
Great,
right.
Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, 10 acres of planted fruit. Cabernet Sauvignon on Winston Hill in 1990 When Rich purchased the property, that vineyard has now grown, more than doubled in size. We plant a little bit of the Italian varietal Sangiovese at the top, a little bit of Cabernet Franc at the bottom, but Cabernet Sauvignon is the grape of that vineyard, that wine, or rather fruit from that vineyard, part of the RHF blend.
All right.
So gnocchi, I'm going to be totally honest with you, Chef. This is the kind of thing I've only enjoyed in restaurants, because every time I try to enjoy it at home, I get the store-bought kind. I boil the water too much. I cook it too long, and it never really comes through. This is one of those simple dishes that is actually much more complex than we give it credit for.
It's complex but simple all at the same time. This is literally 3 ingredients, right? This is ricotta, it's salt, it's egg, 4 ingredients, flour, right?
That's it.
That's all it is. And the thing with gnocchi, whether you're making it with potato or you're making it with ricotta, you really want to control the amount that you work this dough. And you know, I've gone through many cooks and made this with them many times. And the biggest thing to remember is to treat this like a dough, not like a cheese.
Okay.
Right?
So what do you mean by that? How would you treat a cheese? Like
I mean, a cheese.
Well,
you know, a cheese, you can whip it. You can treat it however you like, and it's still going to maintain the consistency that you're looking for. If you overwork this cheese, because it has the flour in there, you get the gluten development, and it becomes dense and it becomes hard. So this is something that you want to be able to control the suppleness.
All right, so you got to be delicate with it.
You got to be delicate with it.
Roger
the first thing that we want to do is put in those ingredients that are going to help you maintain the necessary ingredients, right? Okay. And when I say the necessary ingredients, your 2 necessary ingredients in this dish are egg and salt, and you can't overwork those items.
Okay.
Right? Your final necessary item would be the flour, and we want to add that at the end, because once you add the flour, you can only work it so much.
Okay.
Right? So the first move is to take that salt and to take the eggs, and I have this all measured out by the recipe that you guys have at home.
While Chef is preparing that this incredible gnocchi, I just want to take a minute and give you guys an update about Napa Valley. Because again, we know that Napa Valley has been suffering from some fires over the last couple of weeks. Frank Family Vineyards and throughout the valley, we're all grateful for the hardworking firefighters, the people in public service who have done everything they could to keep us safe. I'm very happy to announce that Napa is coming through this storm. The fires are, for the most part, contained. Our tasting rooms are open. Our air is clean and clear. And we're looking forward to seeing guests this September and October. Of course, harvest is going on. Chardonnay grapes have been coming in this week. Pinot Noir grapes just started a couple of days ago. Shortly after now, we'll be bringing in our Cabernet Sauvignon and our Zinfandel. So even though we've seen a lot about these fires, I want you all to know here in Napa Valley, we're working hard to create great guest experiences. And of course, in this time, to create the best wine in the world. Chef, where are you at with that gnocchi?
So if you guys can see how I'm working this, I'm working it in a symmetrical flow here. And what I'm doing is I'm incorporating the eggs and the salt very gently. And I'm maintaining the grain of this ricotta that I have. And I'm also mixing it so it's one consistent color. You don't want to see streaks of egg yolk is what you don't want to see. Because then if you see the streaks of egg yolk, that means it's not fully incorporated, and that gnocchi might not hold together like you want it to. Right?
I love that knife. Is that something that, I mean, I've never had something like that, but this seems like a great thing to have in your house.
Yeah, this is a bench scraper. So you know, something like this, if you don't have this, there's no problem with just using your hands, right? It gets a little bit messy, but get your hands right in there. That's the whole point of this.
Dynamite.
I'm trying to stay as clean as I can for you guys.
I think if it was a normal night at Bottega, Chef Art wouldn't be quite as polished as he is right now.
Right. I get messy, I get dirty. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So
now you've got some boiling water, right?
I do have some boiling water there. So I started just like I started that hen sauce at the beginning of the meal, even though it's going to come in towards the middle. I started that water at the same time because there's nothing wrong with having that boiling water just ready to go for that pasta to be dropped, right?
Great.
So you know what I'm doing now that our egg is all mixed in and everything's ready to go here, I'm going to go ahead and add our flour. Okay.
Okay.
And it's not a lot of flour as you can see, and I'm just going to fold it in.
A little bit more at the end.
A little bit more at the end. I'm just going to keep folding it in. And if your ricotta, not all ricotta is created equal. You know, if your ricotta is a little bit wetter than mine, then add yourself a little bit more flour. But the idea is to add just enough to keep it light. And what I'm doing here is just folding it over and folding it over. And I'm really building layers, you know. So I'm going to add the second amount here.
Chef, while you're preparing that, I just want to touch base with our audience at home. Does anyone have any questions, Leslie?
Yes, we're getting a lot of questions for Chef Art and on his technique. So I'm gonna keep the camera on you, Chef, as you do that.
No problem.
Okay, so a number of people want to know: is this it's like kneading bread, but no adding flour?
I'm adding little by little that flour that's in your ingredient list there. And yes, you know, you want to, like I said, you want to work it like a dough without so much force, right? I'm smoothing it out a little bit, and then I'm folding it right over. Smoothing it out and just folding it right over.
And Marianne Davis wants to know: did you wet the scraper?
I did not. I did not. This is
good question.
It's just coming right off. It's gonna get a little bit dirty, and you'll notice before I do start cutting this, I'm actually going to clean that scraper, which is it's a great question because it's very important once we start to cut and form these gnocchi that your scraper's clean when you make that slice, and that'll keep the cut clean, and this flour will stick to it, and you'll have a very beautiful product.
Chuck Kellner wants to know: is the ricotta fresh made by a chef or a fresh store-bought, and if bought, whose cheese?
You know, I've made it from house-made ricotta before. The problem is with that, it comes out a little bit drier, you know. We use Bellwether Farms ricotta from Sonoma, and it's a, you know, again, you know, we love those California, those local ingredients and supporting those farmers. So we buy our fair amount of this product, and this recipe is, you know, in our restaurant was really based off of this product, and it's, you know, it comes out very consistent with a store-bought product.
Okay. All right. Brenda Hageman wants to know, when you put the ricotta in the cheesecloth to let the water drain, do you keep it in the refrigerator or on the counter? You want to keep it in the refrigerator. You know, it can hang for a day, it can hang for 2 days, it can hang for 3 days. You know, you have to be the judge of, you know, this is all trial and error when you're at home. You shouldn't be afraid to mess up. You shouldn't be afraid to you know, to make this recipe multiple times before you nail it. You know, I've made this. I couldn't tell you how many times I've nailed it. Beautiful. Made it.
Chef Michael Chiarello coming to check his protege's work.
Listen up, team at home. Ricotta.
All right, this is for Chef Michael. We're getting lots of people asking, what is the measurement of salt? They printed out the recipe and it says TT of salt. What does that mean?
To taste.
To taste.
Enough.
Okay. Those are
any
for
of my
the
family's recipes.
Do chefs know that? I mean, do most people who cook know what TT? Don't ask me because I don't cook.
No.
I come here to eat.
The Italian recipe just said basta. Enough.
Yeah.
Enough salt.
Enough salt.
On where your salt taste is. We use a gray salt from Brittany.
Right.
It's 25% less sodium, but 25% stronger. So it has salt's really important to these gnocchi. There's only a couple of ingredients that go to it. And
are you specific about the type of flour that you use?
We use AP flour in this.
All purpose.
Okay, that question was asked by Kathy Primavera.
Primavera,
an Italian.
That's a pretty good name.
Springtime.
I like that.
I was born in April.
Okay. And how salty do you need the water for the gnocchi?
Like a mild sea. Not the Dead Sea.
Davis is asking.
Not the Dead Sea, but like a mild sea salt. More salt in the water than you would think you would want to put. When you put your thumb in it, you taste it. Not to choke, but it should have enough salt. The number one mistake people make is they don't have enough.
This is an interesting question too from Matthew Cowan. He says, should you never cook with a wine that you wouldn't drink, or would you think it's okay to get a cheaper bottle to cook with?
Cheaper doesn't mean bad. We tend to say less expensive.
Right. But also, if it's a bottle that you open and you didn't finish and it's been sitting there for a number of days.
Frank family, I would use the Zin that we're drinking. I would drink one bottle while I was cooking and the other bottle for my guests.
Well, that's what
no
Rich
wonder
does.
you and Rich Frank are such good friends,
Rich
Michael.
does.
That's his motto as well.
Exactly. It's his 2-bottle wine.
Yeah.
He drinks one while cooking and one
You will
during
always
dinner.
make
And if I'm lucky, I'll get a glass.
You'll always make good food with good ingredients. You'll never make great food with bad ingredients.
That's a good way to look at it. But I think what Chef Art mentioned earlier was that it's the acidity of the wine that does something to the fruit. So a bottle that had been open for too long, or maybe something that you didn't finish the night before, the oxidation process that would have naturally taken place for that wine might have reduced the acidity to the point where it's not really valuable in the dish.
Possibly, or you take a little more and reduce it down a little bit further.
There you go. All right.
Hey, Leslie.
Yes.
Before we get into any more questions, I want them to know what ricotta is.
Well,
it's not ricotta.
It's ricotta.
It's ricotta.
Okay.
Ricotta. Cotta means cook. Ri means to make a second time. So in the family of Italian cheeses, my family were cheesemakers on my mother's side. You take the cream and you make mascarpone. You take the milk and you make these cheeses called pasta filate, or the string cheeses. Mozzarella, scamorza, provolone, caciocavallo, all these cheeses that have to get stressed first. But when you make the curd, just like Little Miss Muffet, when you make the curd and you have the whey, what's left over in the whey, there's still some butterfat left over in the whey. And then you add a little more milk, whole milk, to the whey after you make the first cheese. And you add an acid, lemon juice, buttermilk, and you cook it a second time. You bring it up to 180 degrees a second time. So ricotta, to cook a second time.
All right, Chef Art, can you tell us how you're doing this? You're rolling out the gnocchi, obviously. Just for the folks at home who are cooking along and watching, tell us what your technique is and what you're doing there.
So the technique is especially when you work in restaurants or you're working in making a large volume, the idea behind pasta is to be as space and time efficient as possible. You see, I don't have a whole lot of room on this cutting board here, but what I did first was I formed it into a little loaf and I cut slices out of it, right? If those slices are large, you can turn it into 2 little bars, or turn those slices into 1 bar with your hands. And now I start to roll, and I'm just using the momentum. I'm using the momentum of the rope of gnocchi itself.
Barely touching it. It's not like you're training a pit bull over here. You're barely touching it.
And just rolling it until it becomes a nice smooth cylinder, right?
I love all these questions, Leslie, that are coming in. It's so great that we have this opportunity to, at home, prepare a dish with such incredible chefs.
It is great, and there's so many comments and questions that I can't even keep up with them all. I mean, we want to listen to Chef Art explain what he's doing. Obviously, we want to listen to Michael tell his amazing stories. Michael always has a new story every time I come into the restaurant. He's got a story about his grandmother and the recipes and how he goes over to Italy every year and takes his team and how they come up with new recipes to bring to the restaurant. It's always interesting.
The idea, Leslie, you've said 1,000 times, is to have a relationship with your consumption. When I have a glass of Frank Family Vineyard wine, I've known Rich forever. I was blessed to have 2 Emmys, but half of those Emmys are his, because he's the one that got me in the TV business and taught me how to be on TV well. And then has been a mentor and a very young father for me for many, many years. And now I meet you, Leslie, and you come into the picture, and then Liam comes in. So when I have a glass of this wine, I care less about terroir. I care about terroir. I'm a farmer. I'm a winery. I care about manoir the most. Right, the flavor of the producer that I have a relationship with in my mouth. When you can have that. There's a giant difference between taste and flavor. Taste just happens in your mouth. You've all had 22-course meals where you wake up in the morning, you have no idea what the hell you ate. Flavor is an emotional connection that you have with a dish. Either an intellectual connection because you understand the history of it. When I cook meat for Rich, I never met his father. I knew his father was an amazing butcher in New York, and I've heard all the butcher stories along the way. I'm seeing him up on the wood blocks behind the meat counter, talking to every woman about what they need to be cooking tonight at the same time, having a relationship with that historically or directly with Rich emotionally because I love him like my own.
It's amazing. Rich Frank, along with his son Paul Frank, producers of Michael Chiarello's show Easy Entertaining. For those of you who didn't know that connection at home. And also, Michael, you were the chef on deck the night that Rich and Leslie got married, I believe. Is that right?
That is absolutely true.
It's
And
amazing.
by the way, this was on the menu at our wedding dinner. The beautiful gnocchi, little, what do we call them? The pillows of happiness? These
Pillows
of happiness.
Pillows of happiness. And Chef Art actually told me a fun little anecdote about gnocchi. It means something as well. It seems like every great dish in Italian cuisine has a meaning of some kind. Tell us about gnocchi again.
So in Roman slang, you'd call your lover, your lady, you'd call her your little gnocco, and it means sexy, your sexy lady. So
Well, you'd certainly have some sexy gnocchi on deck right here,
Absolutely.
Chef. I'm excited.
So as you guys can see here, I'm cutting them, and pasta has character. You know, I have a guy that's been with me in Bottega, and he's been with me for, I want to say 7, maybe 8 years now. He makes pasta better than I can make pasta, right? I tell him what I want, he's my hands, and it's so perfect, you know. And then I come in, and my gnocchi have character, and that's what I like to say. I don't know if that's an excuse or if that's a, you know, but they don't have to be all perfectly shaped and round. They just have to taste great, right? I guarantee if you make this dish in front of your guest, it's going to be, whether it tastes good or not, it's going to be the best gnocchi they ever had because they were a part of it, right?
That's great.
So what we do, you keep a nice clean knife, floured very well, and you can dust them pretty good here. What you really want to do is make sure all those cut ends have a nice dusting of flour, because that's what's going to hold them together. You know, it's not necessarily, the egg sets up the cheese, but it's not the structure of the gnocchi, of the actual dish, right? So, and I'm just gonna give them a little toss, okay? And then we stick them on a nice clean tray. Now you can freeze these, you can refrigerate them until you need them. And that's what we're gonna do, because we're gonna move on to our next dish here pretty soon, right? Now yes ma'am.
A lot of people are commenting on the amount of flour that you're using. It says the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons, but it looks like you're using much more as you go along and you cook. Can you talk about that?
Yep, there's a second amount there for dusting flour. And that dusting flour is the flour that you use for your bench or your cutting board that keeps your gnocchi from sticking together. So I put 4 tablespoons inside of my dough, but this dusting flour is what I'm using on the outside. All right. So we're coming up to the next phase of our.
That's right. So we kind of did things in reverse today, which I thought was really fun. And this is something you want to keep track of at your home when you're preparing a dish for guests. Chef Art and Chef Michael started with the prep work on the main course because the appetizer course is one that actually comes together pretty quickly, which I believe, Chef, is what we're going to talk a little bit about next.
That's what we're going to be coming up on next year.
Fabulous. So the dish is called Angry Prawns, and I can tell you I received a couple of emails over the course of the last 2 weeks that said, why are the prawns going to be so angry? And I'm excited to see what Chef brings together on this dish. We're going to be pairing this with the Lewis Vineyard Chardonnay. Now, our Chardonnay, and what I think Todd Graff, Frank Family's winemaker and general manager, what I think he's so amazing at capturing in a Chardonnay is this concept and this idea of balance. We've talked about this wine before in our virtual tasting series, but I always love to revisit it because this, to me, is a quintessential Todd Graff wine. The balance that's established in a glass of Frank Family Chardonnay is that balance between the bright energy, the freshness, and the vibrancy of the Chardonnay grape with the richness and decadence and complexity that develops in the wine over time in that oak barrel. These are 100% new French oak barrels that we use to age the Lewis Vineyard Chardonnay, which is what's responsible for that textured, richer, layered flavor profile where you find cinnamon toast and baking spice, and a touch of butterscotch and a bit of that vanilla bean. What can so often happen with Chardonnay, though, is that one side of that balance pulls focus. So the Chardonnay is too crisp, too bright, too energetic, or too rich, too round, too heavy. And either one is great, but neither one captures that wonderful dichotomy that creates a great Chardonnay. The fresh energy pairs great with food. The rich decadence from the oak is what you love when you drink it.
You hear all that? Trampoline. Remember trampoline.
Trampoline.
Your
I love
wine
that.
needs to be a trampoline for the dish that you're having. It needs to take the flavors of that dish and bring them up over to here, up and underneath it, and set you up for your next bite. It should be the last thing you have in your mouth and set you up perfectly for that next bite. Now, when it comes to this, and everybody says, what should you pair with it? These are perfect pairings because he's a pro, beyond a pro. He's forgotten more than I know about wine.
Oh, Michael. You're nice to me.
Like what you drink what you like. Like what you drink what you like. If you like a jug wine with this, because that's what you like to drink it, enjoy it, but listen and go with us along and have the experience as it goes forward. Pissed off prawns.
Angry. Hey, look, we're not trying to go that far with these prawns. We're trying
Pissed off.
we're trying to keep them mildly angry.
Arrabbiata.
But speaking of the angry prawns, I'm going to move. Well, Liam talked about the Chardonnay. I want to move it back over to Chef Art to talk about the recipe for the angry prawns.
Okay.
Because even though we promoted the gnocchi here, I don't think we have the recipe for the angry prawns. So this is something I need you to walk us through.
No problem, no problem. So the idea behind this dish is to layer those flavors again. We talk about it a lot, right? You're gonna cook, Chef. Perfect.
I'll cook you talk.
Sure about that? That was a joke. That was a joke.
Look at these. Look at these prawns to start with. All right.
Those are beautiful.
Nothing pre-frozen. Take the time. Find all you need is one great
do I get
ingredient.
and how many does Rich get?
You get what you want.
I say you start with Rich. He's my investor. When you're seasoning these, you want to season them liberally on both sides. Not like my buddy Emerald from way up here, but down where you're going to taste it and enjoy it.
What are you seasoning with?
Gray salt from Brittany. It's the only ingredient that goes in everything that you cook. We use gray salt from Brittany, and it's to me the most amazing. The same before, it's less sodium, 25% less sodium, 25% more flavor. And it gives a richness and flavor that you don't get in anything else. Start with amazing ingredients. Salt's the only thing that goes in every single thing that we cook. I'm
Michael,
gonna
are the shells completely on or are they split?
The shells are taken off the tail, but we leave the heads on because all that umami, if it's a date night, it really aids to a really nice date night taste at the end. Sorry, it's a family show, Wesley. Pan gets hot, saute means to jump in French. Pan needs to get hot. Chef's gonna keep talking, I'm gonna be his
Chef. So we're gonna start layering those flavors, and the first thing what we need to do is sear these prawns off. And once they're seared off, these are gonna come out of the pan. We don't wanna overcook those prawns. Right?
That's why this is a rapid cook dish. This is something that comes together really quickly that you want to serve warm to your guests.
Not necessarily. You know,
Okay.
this can actually be served like almost like a shrimp cocktail if you wanted to.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, you know, this is a very good dish for entertaining. And the reason I say it's good for entertaining is because you can make this far ahead of time. And if you want to serve them warm, you just drop them right in the oven. If you want them ambient, serve them ambient with your favorite cocktail sauce.
Very light brown on this side. So no, we want them still translucent. You want to buy a shrimp that's sushi quality that you can eat it raw, and you want it to be just medium rare. We'll go back on here.
Yes, Chef. Right? So once this shrimp is lightly brown, we're gonna pull it right out of the pan and start some more of those layers, right? And this is a dish, we had this on the opening Bottega menu, and I was still a cook back then. And this dish got my butt kicked more than any other dish on that menu. This is a tough one.
Why did that happen? Because you got to time it so specifically?
You have to time it perfectly, and there's a cheat behind it that I didn't know about.
They would never tell you that if you were alive.
Exactly, yeah. Right, there is a cheat. So what the end result here is to take all these ingredients, and what we have is thin sliced garlic, thin sliced serrano chili, fresh basil leaves, orange zest, and of course our secret ingredient here, our Calabrian chili, right?
Is that what makes it so angry?
It makes it angry, it gives it umami. There's three ingredients that. It's olive oil, it's Calabrian chilies, and salt. And, and it's a fermented product. It doesn't taste fermented, but it has just a certain amount of umami to it. That's really beautiful. Okay. And it comes from chef's mother's hometown.
So, Chef, you're adding olive oil every time you put
Add some
new
more olive oil
prawns in?
because it uses more olive oil every time. And now the technique to this is really simple, but you have to time it just right. Garlic goes in first. Go ahead, Chef. You talk.
Yeah, Chef. So the garlic goes in just as it begins to brown around the outer edges. Chef's going to go with this Serrano chilies, right? Because he wants those Serrano chilies, which are a little bit thicker, have a little bit more water content, to crisp to the same texture at the same time as that garlic. All right. So that'll just fry.
You're using a very small pan. So my question is, why wouldn't you use a larger pan and put all the prawns in there? This is coming from someone who doesn't know.
It would burn.
Okay.
It would burn. You wouldn't have control over the pan.
All right, that answers that.
But
Are you using high heat or medium heat, or what's the temperature?
As high as it gets.
As high as it gets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once that basil's in there, it really needs to fry quick so it can become crispy. Now, the cheat behind this, what you can do is saute your shrimp, right? Fill up your pan with a good amount of oil, or deep fryer. You could use a deep fryer for this, and individually fry all of these ingredients, right? You start with the garlic, and you go through the same thing. And at the end, you hold off some of that oil, and you can take that oil and you dress your shrimp with it, and you'll see as we do it here.
The basil has to get crispy. Until the basil gets crispy, nothing else in the pan will burn because it has so much water in it. You can see that because the basil gets a little translucent. Almost there.
Provide us with the recipe, because we're getting a lot of people asking for the recipe of the angry prawns, and we'll post that on our website, frankfamilyvineyards.com, in the blog section.
Absolutely.
In the blog section. And if you haven't gone to the blog section of our website, I really encourage you to do so, because there are lots of interesting tidbits about Frank Family, about what we're working on, and these amazing recipes and virtual tastings, and just great stories, harvest stories, etc., that our marketing team is always posting to the blog, including recipes for our tasting. So that will be posted there later.
That really is a great place to touch base with us as a winery, as a family company, see what we're up to. Because I got to tell you, every day we are up to so much, and there's so much going on this time of year, September and October. Personally, my favorite time of the year. Things start to cool off. The grapes start to come in. There's a lot of excitement in the air as the wine of the vintage is being made. And then, of course, what great day wine tasting doesn't end with an incredible meal.
Liam, last ingredient, orange.
Yes, sir.
Last ingredient, orange. Just sit on top of everything else.
Orange.
It wants to get warm so it doesn't get in the way of the wine.
That's the last thing in.
Now, when you mix a soup, any creamy soup, in this case we made a white bean soup, you save some, put it in the freezer. We use this, we call it passata. It's going to go down. Something soft and sweet and creamy at the bottom of this.
But again, that can be your favorite cocktail sauce too. Served on a skewer as a plated appetizer. If it's on a skewer, it's easily passable. If you want to sit down and eat it, it's easily enjoyed family style or plated for yourself.
All that goodness right on there. Heck yeah, I'm talking about.
Chefs, that looks amazing, and I love that more rustic presentation. Real authentic, real simple, not over the top. That looks amazing.
I strategically chose our plates because just because you have a nice plate doesn't mean it's going to make the dish look nice, right? This platter here was courtesy of Ace Hardware, actually. You know, it's a wooden plank, you know. But it does wonders for the colors of the dish. It really makes it pop, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be China.
And when you pass it around, it has a texture in your hand, like the texture with the dishes, which says rustic.
Yeah, rustic. That's a great word for this dish, and a great word for the plate.
Arrabbiata, angry prawns, as good as they get.
And a fabulous dish to partner with our Frank Family Vineyards, Lewis Vineyard Chardonnay.
If I remember correctly, we were pairing it the same similar dish.
And I'm coming in to taste, as I always do.
Here we go. Rich, good to see you, Rich Frank.
It was, I remember when I first met Michael, he was always amazing me with one dish after the other, which is sort of what first brought us together. Exactly. We grew over the years through food and wine, and then other friendships came from that. But it's always been phenomenal. And if I'm not doing anything, I'm over here eating at one of these restaurants. And
You have a Chardonnay for Rich here?
I sure do. There's a glass right over here, Rich, if you'd like to.
But I'm going to get a little plate, and I'm going to taste it.
Come on over here by the wine, Rich.
For you, Chef.
I've got room for you, sir, right here.
Rich, come on over here by the wine so they can see what you're drinking with it.
What?
I'm putting my mask down. I'll probably get a lot of questions. But
So there is a skewer in there.
here we go.
There's a skewer in there, Chef?
Yes, Chef.
Go away.
Let me get that up for you.
All right, I got mine. Don't aim at me. I don't eat neatly.
I want to know how it tastes. Let us know how it tastes. I don't have the microphone right now.
That's phenomenal.
Incredible, right?
Yeah. And I know people at home are looking to duplicate this. You won't be able to. You may get close. It's fantastic. Thank you. Always great to hang around with you. I always make a guest appearance. Keep on going.
Thank you, Rich. Good to see you, sir. So what's great?
Stop. When that first gnocchi's done,
It's all yours.
I'm back.
So what's great about the way that this meal came together was that even though we're on our appetizer now, it's really just it's a short sprint to the end of the line for the main course. Because
really
you've
is.
done that work before, it's ready to drop in, and then you're good to go.
Right.
So tell us what's next with the gnocchi. That's a pretty short cook time, right? Because it's fresh pasta.
It's fresh pasta.
Not dehydrated.
It's ready to go. So look, when we were talking about salting the water, and I got the water boiling ahead of time, what I did not do was salt the water. And the reason I didn't salt the water was because as it sits there, it's going to cook, it's going to reduce, and that water's going to get salty on you. So don't make that, I've made that move many times, don't make it again. All right, so I'm going to salt our water now. Okay. And taste. I'm going to taste our water now just to make sure it's that right. And I think we hit it.
How would you know? I mean, I'm serious.
Right.
Like,
you wouldn't know.
You would taste it and it would be too salty?
It would be too salty.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is such thing as too salty. The saturation point of salt in water is about 23%, and that's the point where no salt will dissolve in it anymore. And obviously too salty for what we're doing here. And I'm looking for back to my bench scraper. And now we can put that gnocchi right inside of our water here. And you got to be gentle with it. It needs to go into boiling water. Okay. You got to be very gentle with them.
That seems to be the theme on the gnocchi. Delicate.
Nice.
Gentle.
Delicate.
What you don't want to do is drop them from up here because you're afraid you're going to burn yourself. I guarantee you one thing. You drop them up here, you're for sure going to burn yourself. You drop them right into the water, slow and easy. Don't be afraid to cook. That's the relationship with the dish that you're having. And the time it takes these to rise to the top, this dish is going to be done. He's as good as they get at it.
So that's how we know when they're done. Once they rise to the top.
Once they rise to the top. Now, these are going to probably cook in 45 seconds to a minute. You're going to see them float right up. Give them a little bit of time on the surface of the water before you pull them out, because there's such thing as undercooked with these, and they're very, very delicate when they come out, and light and fluffy, right? When you're cooking from frozen, because you can cook from frozen, you want to pull them right out of the freezer, drop them in your boiling water, and it's going to take about 5 minutes for them to float. Okay? You want to give them a little bit of time on the surface, pull one or two out, push your finger into them gently, and you're going to feel a little pea-sized ball of ice in there, and that's going to tell you whether you want to put them back in or you want to keep them out. So
you don't use a gnocchi paddle.
we don't. It just depends on what type of gnocchi we're doing. These are such a gentle product, and you'll see the way that we actually put the sauce over the top of the gnocchi. It doesn't need to have those ridges to hold the sauce. Okay? Every shape of pasta fits the sauce that you're serving it with.
Okay.
I'm
going to pause for a minute
Yes,
because, not pause, but I'm going to pause you and Liam,
Great.
Chef and Liam, because I have a couple of trivia questions that I want to ask our audience to see who's been paying attention. There's been a lot of information here today, I know. Lots of talk about wine, lots of talk about gnocchi, lots of talk about angry prawns. So let me ask, trivia question, and we're going. What should we do, Marissa? The fourth person this time? The fourth person to answer this question correctly in the chat section will win a $100 gift certificate. The question is, what component did Chef Art use to give these prawns their heat? What's the answer? They're angry prawns. What's the component?
While you guys are waiting for the answer, I have some gnocchi there already.
No, we got it. I'm telling you, we have the smartest audience. Okay. Lori and Michael Edelman, Calabrian chili. Yes, that is the correct answer.
Perfect.
Calabrian chili. And our marketing team will reach out to you so you can receive your $100 gift certificate and you can buy any of the delicious Frank family wines on our website or merchandise. All right, Chef.
Great. So I'm just draining this gnocchi with my spider here. I'm letting it drain out, and I'm going to go right to the plate with this. And as I said, you know, I strategically chose my plates for you today. And this plate we happen to call our Nonna plate, and we're plating you ricotta gnocchi alla Nonna, right? Because it's Chef's grandmother's dish. It's his Nonna's dish. Okay, so the gnocchi's on the plate now. We give it a little bit of extra virgin olive oil right over the top, that arbequina that we talked about earlier. Okay, and
this is when it all comes together, Chef.
It's all
that
coming
great
together
work,
now.
all that layering of flavors all comes together on the plate.
Right.
Before you even said it, I saw that plate and I said, that looks like something from my Nana's house. So I absolutely see the appeal there.
I got it at a antique shop.
It's beautiful. It's just great.
Okay, so we're checking our sauce for salt. Ideally, you want to put enough salt and pepper on that hin to where it seasons the hin and it seasons the sauce itself. But sometimes you need to adjust, right? So taste everything as it's cooking and right. And you can't go wrong. So now we're going to go straight to the plate and over the top of our gnocchi with our hin sauce. Okay. And that is the dish. And we're just going to finish it off with a little bit of pecorino romano cheese right over the top. Right?
That's that added touch that really goes a long way, that restaurant style service there.
Rich, would you like to enjoy with me a little bit here? I can mask up and you stay comfortable there.
I took Michael's microphone.
Right.
Rich, the microphone will pick up, but you're going to be eating anyway. I'm going to keep my microphone because I have another trivia question here.
Go ahead.
And that question is, what sets Bottega's gnocchi apart from most other gnocchi?
Good. I think the expression says it all here.
Let's do the sixth person to get it correct. Question is, what sets Bottega's gnocchi apart from most other gnocchi? And the winner is, what do we have here? Yes, the winner is Lori Kelly ricotta cheese. So it's not potato. It's not made from potato. It's made from ricotta and flour. So ricotta cheese. That is the correct answer. Lori, our marketing team will reach out to you with a $100 gift certificate.
Is this the pillow of joy?
I'm going to tell you the story that I'm thinking back. The night Bottega opened, and I remember because we were here, and they brought this out, because this is probably the original dish from here. And I actually said to Michael, there's something wrong with this because I can't chew. It melts in my mouth before I can actually chew it. And I have this almost every time we come in because I convinced myself that I'm not eating anything. It's just a great flavor. It's fantastic, and it has not changed over the years. And to me, every restaurant has one of the things that you want to go back for, a couple of things. This has always been one of my favorites. It's fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Liam, you've talked about a few of the wines, and why don't you pick it up where you left off?
Absolutely. So on this part of the component meal, with this main course, the gnocchi with that red wine tomato sauce, I'm going to go with the Zinfandel. We use the Zinfandel to cook the sauce, but it's such a fabulous partner. Zinfandel, as Michael said, it's every dish's best friend, like that Labrador Retriever. The brightness of the fruit, the ripeness of the energy and the flavors, but that backbone of acidity, that firm freshness that comes from a great Napa Valley Zin is going to just be a natural in-step with the dish that chefs Art and Michael have prepared. This Zinfandel is the absolute perfect pairing for a dish like this. Yes, sir.
Leslie, I'm going to add a trivia question.
All right.
Are you giving away $100?
I'm giving away dinner for $6.
A dinner for $6?
Wow.
Wow.
Dinner for $6 at Bottega. Custom menu from Chef Art and I. If somebody can tell me in 2 minutes the origin of Zinfandel.
Okay, well, how
We have
are
a very
gonna do
smart
that?
audience,
You've gotta
Chef
answer the
Michael, I have to
question in
tell
the
you.
Chat section. You got to simplify it because they have to type in the question here on Zoom.
Oh,
So,
they have to type it?
yeah.
Yeah.
The origin of Zinfandel.
The origin. Okay.
The country Zinfandel came from.
Okay. Well, we've got that. And let's see. Oh, whoa.
And another dinner for $6 if they can tell me what the varietal's called.
So we're hearing that it came from Italy, from Perugia, from Croatia.
Ding, ding, ding. Croatia.
Okay.
Dinner for $6.
The answer is Croatia.
And it's called?
It's called. Well, we know what it's called, but
No.
You said what was the
what it's
origin?
called there. What
the
it's
question
called
was
there.
what was the origin?
The origin is Croatia.
Right.
What it's the varietal's name in Croatia is?
That's correct, but we want both, right? So we want both. We want the origin.
Origin for dinner for $6. Somebody already got it.
Right.
The name.
And the name of the varietal.
name of the varietal
before it was
in Croatia.
Zinfandel. The origin and the name. Okay, so Ian Friedland, you got it correct. It's Croatia and Primitivo.
Primitivo's Italy.
Primitivo's the Italian
Oh,
name.
wait, so that's
it goes
not correct.
It goes deeper. There's a
Okay,
name for
see,
the
this is
varietal that
so-
predates
okay, wait,
Primitivo.
So Ian, you didn't win. I'm sorry.
He
But you
won-
know what?
Croatia won for one dinner. The name of the varietal in Croatia is called 30 Seconds to Go.
We're gonna send Ian a gift certificate.
Ian's getting it for their country. Somebody else gets another dinner for the varietal. 15 seconds. Liam, do you know it?
You caught me on a bad day.
Okay, I'll take it
I
for
don't know,
you.
Chef. What's the answer?
Plavak Mali.
What?
Plavak Mali. Plavak Mali is the varietal. Whoever said Ian, he said Primitivo for years and years and years. The world thought Primitivo was the origin. It's a Zinfandel-like cousin from southern Italy. Plavak Mali.
So you didn't have to give away it.
Okay, well, you're giving away two because I named somebody and I can't take it back after I named
Yes, of course.
So Ian.
Yes, of course. When I say Leslie that you can have a historical memory and taste with a glass of wine, that's what it can be. If you take a bottle of Frank Family Zinfandel, a bottle of Primitivo from Italy, and a bottle of Plavak Mali that I think Mike Gergich makes here,
Okay.
he's Croatian, and you taste them together, you can follow this wine from its origin to its modern time. That's what this gets interesting for me.
All right. So I also want to say that Stephanie Brodish, she was the first person to say Croatia. So
Right.
Stephanie wins as well.
Stephanie wins dinner for
Stephanie
$6.
wins.
Nobody won the varietal. Whoever you want to
Stephanie
name
got it
is
first.
coming to eat. How's that?
All right.
Chef-
Not my restaurant. I can't
Chef,
be giving away your dinners.
Chef, let's plate that hen.
All right, let's plate that hen.
I'm
down.
looking forward to this one.
So
Hold it. You're doing
Chef.
another dish? You taking the hen out of the dish you already cooked and making another dinner with it?
why not, Chef? Isn't that the way?
God, the Calabrese, the Southern Italians taught our Jewish friends how to be thrifty. And this is one of the ways that you take the protein and you use it the second time. Go ahead, finish that up.
So we're going to serve this with our forno roasted rapini. or broccoli rabe. Okay? It's a bitter, wild Roman broccoli. And what we're going to do, we're going to collaborate and roast it. So we're going to start, again, we toast that garlic, okay? And we're going to go in with our Calabrian chili.
The angry chili.
The angry chili. As spicy or not as you want it. Okay. And we're just going to let that toast up. Okay.
I just want to say it smells so good in here. I wasn't even hungry when I showed up. I'm starving now. I mean, how can you not? It's
No,
like
this food is incredible.
Sensory overload in here. It's
For any of our fans watching this broadcast in the Greater Bay Area, or anyone planning on coming to Napa Valley, Frank Family Vineyards and Bottega, we have such a long working history that we thought it would be just the right move to bring our two family brands together. We have a fabulous opportunity to start at Frank Family for an afternoon tasting and join the team at Bottega for a custom-made tasting menu paired with wines of Frank Family and wines also from the Chiarello family vineyards. The Zinfandel that Michael is so famous for, part of that menu as well. So please reach out to us at Frank Family Vineyards if you're coming to the Valley, would like to taste with us and then dine on that special paired tasting menu.
Right. So now, as you guys can see here, I've added our broccoli rabe or our rapini to the pan, and we're cooking it in a similar way to our angry, right? A good amount of oil. This rapini was actually blanched first in salted water. And we're just letting it fry out. And these leaves will get a little bit crispy. And normally I'd throw this right in our wood-burning oven and finish it off in there so it picks up a little bit of smoke, but it's not necessary. And we're going to go right to the plate with it now. Okay?
Liam, while Chef's plating
Yeah.
the broccoli rabe, Tim Kosiak says, he's asking you, he says, Liam, I opened the cab. When do I drink it?
Right now. Yeah. The cab's going to go great with the protein. The protein of the hen, a little bit of fat from the skin that the chef seared off. All that's adding a ton of flavor to the dish, but it's also adding a lot of richness. And a young Cabernet Sauvignon like the RHF and that slightly more structured approach with those firmer Cabernet Sauvignon tannins and that bolder, more intense Cabernet Sauvignon flavor, I think is going to be the ideal partner for the dish that chef is preparing right now. We get caught in this mindset that poultry is for lighter-bodied red wines, and that works a lot of the times. But this is a rich dish. This dish has a lot of rich components. The olive oil, the natural fat from the hen skin is going to want a wine with, and of course the intense flavors that the chef has layered in. That's going to want a wine that just brings a bigger bat to the plate. And that's really where the Cabernet comes in. Our 17 vintage RHF Cab is drinking so well today. Has such incredible potential for longevity. And in its youthful form, I think makes the perfect partner to this dish.
All right.
Where are we, chef?
I
The
think
topping
we
right
about
there?
have it here, right? So as I finished cooking off that broccoli rabe, I hope you had some eyes on my hands there. I took the broccoli rabe right out of the pan along with all the oil, right? That oil is really the driver of the flavor. And I remember as a young cook, chef caught me dumping some of the oil from one of my pans. And number one, I wasted oil. Number two, I wasted flavor. He spent 30 years of his life in the search for flavor, and I just dumped it in the trash. So I used just enough oil that I needed to carry that flavor directly to the plate and not lose a drop. Okay?
Heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Now, in my family, what we do with this is if you want to do it like a meal, you just don't want to serve gnocchi by itself, you serve the gnocchi as a first course. You take the leg out, and this ends up being your entree. A really simple protein, as the Italians would do, with a little bit of broccoli rabe, and continue the party going. That's amazing. One dish done well, you get 4 other dishes in the freezer, right? And a second entree the next day,
Ready to go.
out.
I have a question about the gnocchi. Someone was asking earlier, can you prepare the gnocchi and then refrigerate it and cook it later?
You can, but if you're not gonna, so it could probably sit in the refrigerator for around 30 minutes. You know, if you're gonna refrigerate it any longer than 30 minutes, you might as well just throw it in the freezer. Doesn't hurt the integrity of the pasta whatsoever. We actually at Bottega we make hundreds of pounds of this a week and keep it in our freezer.
Okay.
Chef, that looks amazing. What a fabulous dish. Chef Art, Chef Michael, incredible chefs bringing their talent, their recipes from Bottega, from Michael's family to share with us all today. Thank you both so much. Leslie, are there any other questions from our audience to answer?
Oh boy,
There's a lot.
We've had so many comments and questions, and I hope we got to most of them, but we have so many answers from Michael's last trivia question.
They're coming in now.
I don't know, my head is spinning.
They want that dinner.
Yeah.
I'm talking to your microphone because I don't have one. I'm not going to eat it now because I'm looking at Kelly and saying, I need a reservation, and so I'm heading right over there. This is one of my favorite dishes also. You picked them both tonight, but that was this great.
Rich, thank you and Frank family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chef Michael. Thank you, Chef Art. With a meal like this, you may not have room for dessert. So one last thing that I wanted to bring to the table tonight to share with our guests and with our chefs is Frank Family's port wine. A little something sweet in wine form at the end of the night replaces the need for the dessert, gives us more room to enjoy this incredible meal. We're going to be sharing this port wine as well as some of our other Frank Family standards on Saturday, September 26th, when we welcome you back for the next in our series of virtual tastings, where we bring you inside the production facility and share our 2020 harvest with you with Todd Graff, our winemaker, and assistant winemaker Corey Garner. They're going to be sharing some of their favorite wines, telling their harvest stories. We're going to be drinking along with them, and this port's going to be on the menu. So I look forward to seeing you on that day. Leslie wants to come and say thank you to everyone who's joining us. Once again, Michael Chiarello, the owner of Bottega,
I'm checking it
culinary
out.
director, Chef Art Coutinho, joining us from Bottega today. Thank you both so much. Leslie?
I just, before we wrap it up, I just wanted to say that, again, the recipes for Michael Chiarello, Chef Art's dishes that they prepared today, you can find on our website, frankfamilyvineyards.com. Go to the blog section. We will post that recipe of the angry prawns for those of you who didn't get it. And shoot us an email at info@frankfamilyvineyards.com. If you have any questions that we didn't answer today, because I know there were so many, but in the interest of time, we do have to wrap it up. And because Michael does have a restaurant to run, and he does have like paying customers coming in to keep the lights on. So thank you. As always, Liam, thank you for walking us through the wines. There was a lot to talk about today, and we bounced around a lot, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And we always enjoy coming to you virtually and, of course, seeing you at the winery. So until next time, thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud. Bravo.